Hi, everyone, and welcome into Don't Tell Me How to Fan. My name is Josh Albrecht, and with me, as always, is my good friend, John Taylor. John, how was your holiday? We haven't talked since Christmas. I don't know how your Christmas was, your New Year's. What'd you do?
It was great, Josh. Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Don't Tell Me How to Fan. Happy holidays to you all. It was good. It was good. You know, it's no secret. I live out in Oregon. And so my in-laws live down in Bend. They just got a new house. And so we went down there and spent the holidays with them for 2.5 days. Yeah, Bend's cool. It's high desert as opposed to like the gloomy, rainy Pacific Northwest that I live in on a day-to-day basis. So the weather was cool. It snowed overnight from Christmas night into the 26th. So we got to like walk around downtown Bend with like coffee and seeing some snow, which, is only, it's only like a couple weeks at a time here. So I don't live
You
in
had it when you needed it the most.
Yeah.
The number one time you want the snow
Yeah.
is on Christmas. You want it like that 48-hour Christmas Eve through Christmas Day. That's when you want it.
Yeah.
And it all melted, and it was like 50 here. Sucked. And then it snowed on New Year's. And I don't want it then. I'm out shoveling on New Year's Day. Cold. Boo.
Boo.
Like
Question for you. Speaking of Christmas, did you watch any of the slated games between the NBA and the NFL? Did you get a chance to
I watched
enjoy
some of the NFL games, did not watch any of the NBA games. So we hosted Christmas. My wife's brother's family, who live on the East Coast, were supposed to fly in night before. They were supposed to fly in on the 23rd. They texted us and said, "Yeah, we got whatever's going around.
No.
Yeah, we're not going to make it." So that sucked because then we had like all this food and stuff planned because they were going to be here for like 6 days, and they didn't make it. So that sucked. We still had a good time. We still had plenty of family over, and it was a good holiday. And it's always so fun with the kids, and them being excited about what Santa brings, and just especially with the 1-year-old, and just tons of memories. So it was good there. And then for New Year's, I feel like I'm 15 years older than I actually am. We're fighting to make it to midnight. We were just hanging out in the house, and we were like, only 10:30. Okay, I gonna have to keep this going. I don't know how we're gonna make it, but we did. We did make it to midnight, and then we shut it down pretty quick after that.
Fun. Yeah, I was. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I was out at a couple parties. I was out way later than I normally am up, so I feel you on that. But yeah, the games were great. Who would have thought the Vikings did us a huge favor?
Yeah,
by making this game completely irrelevant on Christmas Day.
Yeah,
as well as the Ravens game. That was terrible to
which
watch.
was awful. And that was the thing. So let's get into it. I mean, that was the thing that was so tough. Was the Vikings help you out, right? They eliminate the Lions. And then the conversation immediately becomes, all right, what do you do? And the answer that I think everyone, for the most part, was in agreement on is we try to win this game. This game still matters. You have a chance at the division. Try to win this game. And then the Packers completely crapped the bed. I mean, we spent all week on Inside Wisconsin Sports with Trevor and Josh and all the shows down the Wisconsin Sports Radio Network trying to, positives here. Well, this was good. We had no, listen, that was just Malik Willis was the highlight. And then way further down on the list was the rest of the team. I mean, it was nuts. And the defense was just abysmal and gave you nothing to believe in. And then it turns out that the Bears go and lose to the 49ers. And then, not that I wanted the Bears to win. Obviously, I didn't, but it made it sting even a little more, knowing, damn, this game against the Vikings could have really meant something. We could have still had a shot at the division.
Yeah, it was tough. I think, I don't know where your head was at or where, Wisconsin faithful, what they were thinking when Jordan Love got ruled out on Friday. I went, okay, they're going to punt this game then. I mean, I think they wanted to try to win with like Malik Willis, but they were not. It was very obvious that they have to strip the offense down so much. I think Malik threw the best he's ever thrown. I think you're right in the sense that it was pretty incredible to watch him go to work. Like, he's going to earn himself quite an opportunity somewhere.
Oh, he did.
And we'll
Yeah.
talk about the next game, this preseason game in Week 18 against the Vikings. But if they let him play, he's going to have a really great opportunity to do the inverse of what Sam Darnold did last year, which was completely poop the bed, so to speak, on getting a big contract. Because I think he's looked great. He got injured, so they're going to probably baby him. My big question for you, and I don't know what to say. We gave up over 200 yards to Derrick Henry. He almost overtook Amon Green's single game rushing record at Lambeau. It was a disgusting effort, and a lot of guys came out and said it. And you've got JJ Enagbari, and you've got I don't remember who in the secondary was also just saying straight up we're going to find ourselves sitting at home if we don't get our act together. And I don't disagree. The idea that
did.
Yeah,
and then it's pretty obvious. That's an easy statement to make from them when you get embarrassed like that.
Mm-hmm.
The defense was absolutely terrible, and it was so disheartening because, for me at least, it made me go, I don't know that I believe in this team anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that I believe that this team, this defense, is going to be able to do what they need to do. You knew coming into this game, it was Derrick Henry. They weren't going to have Lamar Jackson. You just had to worry about Derrick Henry. I mean, I'm not saying that, Hundley didn't do some things. He made some passes, but you knew it was Derrick Henry, and you had no answer. You had nothing. And teams that have no answer don't make it. They go home. They go to Cancun. Their seasons end. Mm-hmm. And that was really, really tough to watch. And I think one of the biggest things it did for me, John, was it confirmed any doubt that I had was put to bed on Rashawn Gary. I'm completely done with him. I'm all the stuff he said after Parsons went down, being the leader in the locker room, saying, I talked to, we had team meetings, we got to step up, blah, blah, blah. I was really confused why I wasn't seeing more Rashawn Gary highlights when Parsons was on the field. And I mean, he didn't even play the whole game against Baltimore. Rough. I'm done with it.
He got benched.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, you want to talk about he's not going to be here next year, and that's crazy to think after the
and he's under contract.
I mean, they can. I mean, the Packers structure all their contracts to get off of it after 2 years. So this is the 2 years. Right. You were hoping that Micah Parsons was going to do something. Talking about Derrick Henry, I think obviously he's worst case scenario in terms of trying to tackle somebody when you have a light interior defensive line. And after losing Kenny Clark, losing Devontae Wyatt, you're talking about we don't have a single defensive lineman really who could actually hold up, because I forget which one of the defensive linemen that we signed, Riley went out. He's the only one over 300. We picked him over the other guy, Bohannon, that we brought in from the Seahawks. And then you talk about Colby Wooden and Carl Brooks, and all of these guys are really light in the trenches. They're just light. And this is what happens when you don't have a stout run defense. And it's, we can say that Gary's saving grace was always that he was pretty decent in the run game, but it's they're not running it, Gary. They're running it right up the middle. I don't know. There's what kind of credence do you put into the conversation around this idea that half the team had the flu? There was a huge report that the flu was sweeping. It's I went into that game being that's not a thing. I don't really care. You guys are professionals, go figure it out. And the way they played, I was like, man, maybe that's a thing. Because you talk about how slow everybody looked, how lethargic everybody looked, how I don't think they quit or gave up, but I was like, did they even have enough energy to muster an attempt to try to win that game? Because it sure didn't seem like it on the defense. I'll tell you that much.
Right. Well, and that was kind of my thing, because I did hear that too. And I'm like, okay, to your point, medication, there's a lot of meds, different meds than the ones that you and I can go to the drugstore and buy that can get you through 3 hours of a game. Regardless of how bad you're feeling. I mean, I guess if you're really, really bad, but I don't just the defensive players got sick. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Well, you didn't love the offensive play either. We all agree. Malik was the only one who was playing for his life out there. So he was definitely
correct. But still, I mean, someone had to catch it, right? Sure. There were still plays in that regard. I'm looking at as a whole, the I didn't see any positive light on defense. I didn't see anybody
No.
on the defensive side of the ball to where I went, well, hey, Nixon had a good game. Like, no.
The secondary has been terrible. I mean, you want to talk about going from an elite defense to a mediocre one, if even that, is losing your front pressure, forcing our cornerbacks to play one-on-one for as long as they have to beat these quarterbacks. They just can't do it. I mean, there's a ton of Packer pundits and people online talking about Carrington Valentine and how they thought, I mean, he's not the guy. And it makes sense why he had such a hard time last year finding the field when they were like, why is Nixon out on the boundary, put CV next to Jair and and it's like, this is why, because this dude cannot make a tackle. I don't know. We are not rallying to the ball. Nate Hobbs is hurt, and spoiler, he got put on IR yesterday. So he's done for the season. Evan Williams fighting a knee injury. So maybe he's a little slow and hampered. I mean, they are so hurt, and they keep getting hurt. And this is the play that is subsequent from it. It's like,
and I agree with you, but that's the one difference, right? Like, we've been able to use since the Bronco game. I mean, and even a little bit before, but specifically the Bronco game is when the term injury has been used in almost every sentence when talking about the Green Bay Packers. However, the secondary and like the defense, like Hobbs wasn't playing great, and then he got hurt. Like, he wasn't having an amazing season. And I'm looking at like Xavier McKinney going, where are you? What's been happening with you? Like, there are just so many things with this Packers defense that are baffling, so confusing, and it's just so frustrating. And I don't know that there's really a simple fix. I think it's legitimately we're going to have the off season and getting ready for training camp to try to figure this out.
Yeah,
because
and it might come a lot sooner than we want it to. I don't want it to be so doom and gloom. I really don't. But, and injury, I mean, it has to be the conversation. You're talking about a Jenga tower, and you pulled 4 of the biggest pieces on the base, and you wonder why it's wobbling. Like, injuries have to be the conversation. Sure. Like, our guys are okay at best in the secondary. They are not great if they are having to actually defend for an entire length of a play, right? It's just not how this defense was built. You want to talk about Xavier McKinney? I agree. He's great. He's still a fantastic player. The issue is that teams don't throw to him. So you're already limiting his ability to affect the game by the fact that they just don't put the ball near him. And the few opportunities he's had this season, he has not been able to do what he did last year, which was create turnovers. And that is a huge problem. This defense, they're elite tacklers every game but the Ravens. Really, truthfully. Yeah. But it does not matter if you cannot generate turnovers. It just doesn't. Unfortunately, there is just not an easy way to win in the NFL right now if you can't find a way to get off the field. And they can stop and hold them and do all that fun stuff. But at the end of the day, you need to find ways to get off the field. And this defense, as currently constructed, isn't doing it successfully, won't probably start against the Vikings. Hopefully, I don't even know who's going to be out there, which is obviously a conversation to have.
A lot of things have changed in us just trying to figure out who's going to play in this game, including a bunch of people that were signed, with one of them being Trayvon Diggs. John, give me the update to the roster that's happened since the last time we talked.
Oh, boy. Yeah, there has been quite the list of the waiver wire transaction list. We promoted cornerback Jalen Simpson. We promoted quarterback Clayton Tune. We promoted safety Jonathan Baldwin. We promoted cornerback Shamar Bartholomew. Why did we do all that? Because we added 4 players to the injured reserve. They are Zane Anderson, Kamal Haddon, Nate Hobbs, and Jordan Riley. Yeah, not great. On waivers, we added Jonathan Ford, former 6th-round draft pick, who was most recently with the Bears. And I'm bearing the lead on purpose. And we added 4 players to their practice squad. We added Damian Martinez. We added Desmond Ridder, former Falcons and Vikings quarterback. We added offensive lineman Carson Barnhart and quarterback Tyron Herring. And yesterday, the news broke that we claimed off of waivers cornerback and former teammate of Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs. And boy, is his name better than his play has been the last 3 to 4 years.
Yeah. So let's start there's so much to talk about with this Diggs move. First of all, the reports going crazy of why this happened, right? It was kind of like, why did the Cowboys do this? There was talk of him wanting to, after the game in Washington, to not take the team plane home, saying that he was going to just be coming right back there. So it just made sense for him to stay there. And then the team saying no, and then kind of bickering. It seems to have gone a lot further than that.
He did end up staying in the DMV, and then he went and saw family. He was seen attending a Shy Glizzy concert, which means absolutely nothing to me other than Shy Glizzy technically means like scared hot dog, and that's very funny. But yeah, the Cowboys went ahead and released him. His contract is not great, and that is like the other big part of this waiver claim. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm obviously curious about your thoughts, but I'll say this: guys need to change a pace, or a change of scenery, change of pace, whatever. Do I think he's going to come in and get meaningful snaps immediately? No, but the depth is such that we need warm bodies. So if you're going to get warm bodies, why not get a guy that has shown he can produce at the NFL level? It's been 4 years since he's done it. However, Derek Ansley, our secondary coach, used to be his coach at Auburn. Obviously, him and Micah were very, very close. You talk about Jeff Hafley, if he sticks around, he's a secondary guy. Like, there's reasons to believe that if he can come in and get fixed in the offseason, there really is no reason to think that the Packers couldn't restructure this contract if they wanted. Otherwise, they're just going to release him after the season, and it's no harm, no foul,
Right. So my understanding with the contract was that this is essentially a rental. Right, the Packers just have him as a rental for Week 18 in the playoffs.
Yeah, I have it here. Ken Ingalls, the classic Packers cap guru on X. Trevon Diggs will count on the Packers salary cap for $472,222 for Week 18. If he plays or is active, I should say, that will jump to $531,000. Next year, his cap number will be $14.97 million. Or $15 million if active this Week 18. The max it would cost is $15.5 million if he was active for all 17 games next season. He writes a spoiler that we all know. He will not be playing on that contract for the Green Bay Packers. There's no way. You don't get released by a team, get picked up off waivers, and think that you're going to just be able to keep rocking this contract. I mean, unless he does not want to be a Packer and he forces the issue, then they're just going to move on. They don't owe him any of that contract that the Dallas just got rid of. Right. That all of that onus is on them. We only pick up the per game bonus part of that contract, which is not guaranteed money, which is why it's a rental. We can move off on it almost immediately. There's a world where he never even starts for the Packers and they don't pay him anything. I mean, There's probably some sort of per diem for, what I mean? There's like the day-to-day like cost of being an NFL player that you get compensated for. But when we talk about these big cap swings, he could come in, not impress and not sniff the field, and it's no harm, no foul.
But. So this was the thing that was really confusing to me, because as I said in the first segment, I have lost all faith in specifically the defense, but for this team to make a legitimate run, they're just beat to hell. And it seems like more than just physically, emotionally, mentally, they just seem beat. And I'm not saying that they can't go out and do it, right? That's the realist in me. I'm saying I have my feelings and I understand that they could be wrong. Absolutely. But I'm not feeling it, right? And then they go and they sign Diggs, and everyone's like, oh, look at this. And I'm like, look at what? Am I supposed to be looking at this Diggs trade or sign and go, okay, now I feel like the Packers have a shot against the Bears? I don't see it. I don't see it.
Yeah. For the listeners on the radio, I'm shaking my head no. No, he has not done anything in the last 3 years. The numbers are bad. Like, I don't think he got over. I don't have the PFF grades in front of me, and I don't love them but he's middling as a cornerback to terrible in almost all of the advanced metrics you use to chart a cornerback. So he's got a lot to do to turn it around. The only thing that you can really kind of count on is he wants to make a good impression. Him and Micah are boys. If he is excited to be a Packer, like, maybe he can show some flashes in the offseason. Like, this is a long-term play. This is like a buy low. Maybe it's like a Rasul Douglas. It's the inverse, because clearly, like, Rasul just never made it until he made it here. Sure. But it's an opportunity where you say, they probably picked him up and said, you're not playing on that contract next year. And he probably was like, you're right, but this is a great opportunity and we'll go from there. And so, no, this does not solve the Packers' problems whatsoever. You are still going to see Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon on the outside. You're still going to see Javon Bullard in the slot. And we are still going to see the same problems up front with Gary and the interior defensive line not being able to do anything. I mean, it's the whole line. So I don't know. It's.
I don't think he plays. Do you think he plays at all for the Packers in this game against the Vikings or against the Bears in the playoff game?
Well, it's not for sure the Bears.
Well, okay, but it's
yes.
I also heard that the Eagles said that they're resting almost everybody in this.
Yeah,
game.
they already did. So it most likely will be the Bears. But I'm just saying that is like the one thing about this playoff picture that is not for certain is who the Packers opponents. When we talk about how meaningless this game is, there is still some meaning in Week 18, and that's to figure out if we're playing the Bears or not. I think if they would think he could be useful, they need to play him against the Vikings because you can't sit him out against the Vikings and then not have him play against the Bears the following week. I just don't see where that helps. You heard me read through the list of injuries.
Yeah.
Our cornerbacks are terrible. The guys we called up, I don't know if they are better than Trevon Diggs. Maybe they are, but from star power alone, which is probably not the best way to go about it, there's no reason why he shouldn't get a shot over Tyron Herring or Shamar Bartholomew.
Are we assuming too that in this game against the Vikings that Nixon and Valentine, like those guys aren't going to go either?
I think they're going to have to. I don't really, you can only really sit 10 guys.
Right.
And you think about like the guys you're going to sit, you're Jordan Love, even if he clears concussion protocol, which is a whole other conversation. I mean, we can have it right now. Do you think Jordan Love should take any snaps in this game?
No.
If he's clear? Yeah. So there's one. Josh Jacobs is 2. Christian Watson's probably 3. Romeo Doubs could be 4. If Wicks is still dealing with that concussion, that could be 5. We're already talking about half the guys that can't start. And then you start looking at the defense. You start saying things like Xavier McKinney's probably not going to play. You probably don't want Evan Williams playing. You probably don't want Quay Walker playing because he's been injured. Edrin Cooper, you probably play him because he's been the most durable out of all of your front 8. But that still means CV, Keyshawn Nixon, have either of these guys shown you enough to think that, I mean, besides the depth issue, why would you sit them over anybody else? Yeah.
Well, because I'm looking at it for 2 reasons. I'm looking at depth, and I'm looking at if you have a guy that you think needs to get snaps to prove himself, then use him. You paid him, right? Like you brought him in. If you're going to have him play in, like you said, if you're going to have him play in Chicago, then doesn't it make sense? And especially if they're looking at, Diggs as a long-term option. If they're looking at him as a legitimate option for next year, I feel like he understands that and he has an opportunity to go and do something when the Packers really do need a spark and prove it in these next 2 games. But I don't think it makes any sense, to your point. If you don't have him play, you got to have him play against Minnesota. You can't just stick him out there against Chicago.
Yeah. There's one fatal flaw to this thought or premise, and that is, what if he just stinks?
But wouldn't we learn that? Wouldn't we learn that against Minnesota?
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't know. I guess that's what I'm saying. Like, they have a week of practice with him. They're going to be practicing all the way up until Sunday. They're going to make a decision whether they think it's worth it to activate him or not. I think ultimately they do. The Packers do not pick up players like this off the old waiver wire, the heap, the pile, if they don't think they can use them. Otherwise, it would be a practice squad signing. The amount of guys we've said, hey, that's kind of interesting. They're on the practice squad. They never make it. They just move right on. That's what this signing would be. And I get that they wanted him. They got him on waivers, which means either they thought somebody else was going to make a claim for him, or they didn't think he would sign with us. I mean, I think he would have, but they hedged all of those options to make sure that they had rights of first refusal to grab him, and they did. So I don't know.
And the thing is, I don't think they did that for just a warm body. You talked about that earlier about just like the team needs warm bodies. Okay, you just listed a bunch of warm bodies. They didn't need to get Diggs to just have a person out there. So that's even more to my point of, I would be very surprised if he wasn't playing in some way, shape, or form in this game. Because if they're expecting, if we're judging Diggs' contributions to the Packers now and in the future strictly based on maybe him being a part of this team in that playoff game, that's nuts to me. You got to have him play in a game in some way, shape, or form before the biggest game of the year. It seems too obvious to me. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this game means nothing. So if he goes out and embarrass himself, who cares? He's going to be playing along third stringers. Like the guys you don't want to get hurt might play in the first half, and then it's really going to be a preseason game in the second half. So, how the Packers pick and choose where and how they decide to make the choice of who is going to get valuable reps and who's not, it's going to be interesting. I think like we talked about, I think you don't pick up Trevon Diggs, getting him in this game and then getting him in the playoff game, you're talking about like $50,000 more between the two. And, we're talking about a team that has millions and $1 million for cap space. Like, it's not our money. Start him or activate him. I mean, like, let's see what we have, because while I don't think this is a very exciting signing long-term, it could be interesting. And hell, I'll take interesting over whatever we've been peddling out on the field. Like, that's the other thing. Like, it's got to get shaken up somehow. I mean, I'm excited to see a different guy be bad. That's at least something.
Yeah, well,
right? Like,
yeah, that's exactly where we're at. It's terrible. It feels awful that we're in that case, but that is exactly where we're at. And all of that emotion and the way you're thinking, all of that has to change in 2 weeks, right? All of that has to change after this game. The second that this game is done against the Vikings, it's okay. It's time to shut up and go out there and do it. Right? Like, this is the one time you're going to face the Bears more likely, and you got to get it done. A lot of people have been talking about Matt LaFleur, his job security after everything that has happened with the season, the expectations for Matt LaFleur. And you would think, well, this is a meaningless game. How could this game impact it? All the focus should be on how he performs in the game against the Bears. I want to know, do you think that there's anything riding for Matt LaFleur on this game against the Vikings?
This is not compelling. No, I don't. Specifically this game, everyone knows what the deal is. The smart move is rest your guys, eat the L, and then just hope you can recover and recoup. I think what it could get more interesting is, what does a game against the Bears or Eagles look like?
Well, but before you get there, I disagree. And there's a few reasons why. First of all, it's a divisional game. Second of all, it's to lose out for the season. When you're looking at the totality of the season and how you coach your team, it's 4 losses in a row. You ended the season with 4 losses. And then if they lose in the playoff game, 5. I don't think that, when it's I'm not saying it's a deciding factor, but I'm saying that for any statistic that Matt LaFleur is trying to hang his hat on, whether it be divisional record in 2025 or just overall record of, hey, I still got the 10 wins, all of those things are dependent on this game. So it's very easy to say, yeah, this game doesn't matter. But when you're the coach of a team, and more importantly, when you know that there's a new person in charge of if you get to keep your job or not, you can't necessarily look at it that way. I think that this game does have a little bit to worry about. If you're Matt LaFleur, you have to look at this game against the Vikings as, I need to be able to prove, hey, in a game that didn't matter, I still got a bunch of third stringers, a practice squad QB, and whoever else who wasn't even on this team 48 hours ago to go out and beat another NFL team in their stadium that is a divisional opponent. I think that's big for him, beyond just what happens in the Bears game.
Okay. I mean, I don't know how to argue that. The whole organization probably agrees that this game is a puntable game. So I don't know how you can talk about a career defining, a coach position defining game when from the top down, everybody in the building's probably operating under the assumption that they're not going to win this game. I think in the inverse of what you said that I think is interesting is, I think it would actually, if they won this game by resting everyone, I think it would do more to help than losing this game could ever hurt. I think it would be a good reminder that Matt LaFleur is a hell of a coach. I think there's a lot of opportunities to get Savion Williams involved. Let's get Matthew Golden a touchdown this season. Let's get Malik Willis paid by another team in the offseason. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that Matt LaFleur can do to help his case, but I don't think losing this game hurts his case as much as winning would help it. And I also, listen, Ed Policy said something 6 months ago, and we took it as gospel that he is like out for blood. And I just don't think the Packers operate that way. I think this season is not going how anyone thought it was going to go as recent as 3 weeks ago. There's been so much discourse about whether Goody or Matt LaFleur should be let go. And I'm like, name a coach who you think is better. There are things that Matt LaFleur does not do well. There are things that Goody has not excelled at, especially when it comes to drafting, first round picks, namely. But when you look at their success rates in like top 100 picks, when you look at how many of our guys were drafted by Goody and are starting caliber players in the NFL, and you look at the type of whiz kid offensive genius stuff that Matt LaFleur can do, there's plenty of things that you can't do bad, there's things that he can improve on. But I don't think he should be let go just because things feel like maybe they've gotten stale. Because to me, they haven't gotten stale yet. And this is like a whole offseason conversation. So I'll just say this part really quickly and we can move on, or please feel free to respond. But I'll say this, like, the championship window has not been open for 9 years. So when people talk about Matt LaFleur and Aaron Rodgers, throw that out. When you talk about the first 2 years with Jordan Love, you're trying to figure out if Jordan Love is even a guy. You kind of have to throw that out. This was the first season Matt LaFleur has had with his guys, with this new window specifically being open with Jordan Love, and injuries decimated it. Your favorite word, injuries, but it's the truth. You can't lose your yak monster. You can't lose one of your best offensive linemen. You can't use your best player on the team. You can't lose your 3-tech who was maybe playing at an all-pro level in Devontae Wyatt. Like, we just talk about so much adversity that this team is going to have to get through. And at the end of the day, they're still going to make the playoffs. And I know it's a 7th seed, but I just am like, the grass is not always greener. And I think like people really lose sight of that when they think about the Packers, because they've been consistently good for so long. So that's, I'm sorry.
I agree with you on that, in that regard. Now, I do think that it would be a mistake to move on from Matt LaFleur. And I know that there are a lot of people disagree with me. The only way that I can even fathom going the other way is if it was to not lose Jeff Hafley. And if they were like, hey, we really like Jeff Hafley and we don't want him to go be a head coach for the Giants or someone else. And we've seen what Matt LaFleur can do over the last 9 years. And yeah, we understand that injuries happen, but best of luck, Matt, somewhere else. And then see what Jeff can do. And I'm not sure that Hafley is necessarily the answer either. And you're right. That is a conversation for the offseason. But I do think that any help that Matt LaFleur can get definitely doesn't hurt. So I think that there is something for Matt LaFleur in this game, even if there isn't something for the Packers. There's an opportunity. There's an opportunity for Matt to make a statement, regardless of the Bears game, because obviously we know that that's what it all comes down to. All right. Before we move on to the Bucs, score predictions and just predictions in general. What happens in the quote unquote meaningless game between the Packers and the Vikings in Week 18?
I think the Packers probably look really good with Malik Willis if they play him for the first half. I think they're probably up by a touchdown or so. And then I don't even know how to call the second half. If Max Brosmer is playing for the Vikings and they're not playing guys and we're not playing guys, I think the Vikings really want to win this game more. I think from like what it says for their season, it means a lot more. I think the Vikings beat the Packers 21-16. And I think the Packers put up 14 pretty fast, or 13, or, however my math makes sense. But I think they score early with Malik, and then it is just a bad football game in the second half.
I don't think Malik plays, period.
Yeah, he might not. Absolutely.
I think that Clayton Tune goes out there. I think he does not have a good game. I think that the Vikings do win. I think the Packers score 1 touchdown and then 3 field goals. And I think that the Packers lose the game 24-16.
Cool.
And I think that everyone kind of writes it off. But that when we look at the play, we're just as embarrassed as we have been. And even though it's third stringers, it looks, I don't think there's anything that comes out of us that gives us hope against the Bears. And that's what's going to be the most disappointing, is that I think the Packers fans are like, I just need to see at least something. Give me something to cling to.
Trevon Diggs interception.
Something.
That's
Right.
something,
Right.
right?
Give me something, a highlight in some way, shape, or form that I can go, okay, but that was good. And that's going to happen. That's going to have a possibility of happening at Soldier Field. So that's good. I don't want it to be the Packers, regardless of who's out there, have looked like the same awful team for the last 4 weeks. And now they're dragging their half-dead bodies onto Soldier Field to get their asses beat against Chicago. I don't want that to be my thought process or the narrative going in to what is supposed to be an exciting end to the trilogy of Packers Bears in 2025.
Mm-hmm. Well, if we get no more injuries and all of the guys that get rested are back and ready to go, I feel very excited about that Bears game. We'll talk about that next week for sure. Once we know for a fact that it is the Bears. I think if we, I would be very happy if Matthew Golden gets a touchdown. Awesome. If we see him actually running routes downfield as opposed to all these like jet sweeps and gadget plays to try to get him the ball, I think that's awesome. I said Trevon Diggs, but let's just see a turnover from the defense somewhere. I think like if Tyron Hopper finds his way on the field, I think he's like a pretty good player. I'd love to see what he can do. So, reorienting things to the individual players, a la a preseason game. That's how I'm going to watch this game, and that'll get me excited. If I see guys doing and showing flashes of legitimate NFL play after a season of being on the team, I think that's exciting. But my feelings about this game are going to be very divorced from the final score. And at this point, the record for the season, like the record accomplished what it needed to accomplish, which was be good enough to get into the playoffs. And that happened. And then a Vikings reporter pointed out that if the Packers would have lost to the Cowboys instead of tying, this game would have been for the 7th seed. That's how sneakily good the Vikings kind of have been, which is hilarious. They can't make the playoffs, and now they're picking 16th. It's like literally they can't even tank right. So that's fun.
Yeah.
So watching them beat us puts them in like the 16th or 17th pick overall, and that's really funny after the season they've had. So there's positives. Hey, there's a positive spin anywhere you look. And I'm not going to tell you how to fan, but I'm going to tell you it's 2026, and why don't you just try on optimism? Not you, just anybody.
Yeah, I was going to say.
At least for this game, right? Just try it out, because the Bears game is going to feel very different.
Yes, yes, it will. Yes, it will.
And the whole week leading up to it will.
I got to tell you though, I still hate watching football games that are played at US Bank Stadium, and just hearing the horn, and just even when it wasn't US Bank Stadium, even when you go back to Metrodome, just oh god, I do not like playing football games in the state of Minnesota.
Well, the not so dirty secret is for the majority of our childhood and people who are in their mid 30s to like early 40s, the Vikings were actually the Packers rivals.
Right.
Like they were the only team in the NFC, less like 2010 and then that 2017 when they made it to the Super Bowl, like the Bears, like it was all Vikings all the time. That was the team I hated the most.
Yeah. Same.
And I still don't like them, but they haven't won a Super Bowl. They kind of botched this whole thing. They bet on JJ and they were wrong. There's conversations that if his hand is good, they're going to start JJ McCarthy. Like they think at this point, it's more important that he just gets more time on the field. And that almost feels like a punishment. So that's hilarious. So
yeah, you're right.
I'm very excited to see what happens this Sunday, simply because the storylines on both sides are juicy and irrelevant.
All right, and then really quickly, because we really don't need to spend much time on it. The Bucs got Giannis back, and they keep losing, and it's just it's sad to watch. And I really don't know what's going to come of it. But I am prepared to have the Bucs season just be let's tank the season as much as we can and come back stronger. And I hope that Giannis buys into that. I know he won't, but I need him to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you saw, and I'll say this quickly. He said in his post-game presser after losing to the Wizards of all teams for the second time this season. Yeah, he was basically just like, some of us are doing the right stuff, some of us are doing the wrong stuff. I've been on great teams where everyone's doing the right stuff and it makes winning easier. And then I've been on teams like this where people are doing the wrong stuff. And when 3 or 4 guys aren't doing what's supposed to be done, it's impossible to win. And I'm going, that's interesting. So let's get these guys out. If everybody but Giannis gets traded, great. That's not true. I like Ryan Rollins. KPJ has been great. Blah, 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 blah.
You mean
blah,
the guys
blah,
that are
blah,
doing things right?
if they are. I mean, Ryan Rollins is doing things right, and so is Giannis. Everyone else, who knows? But I'll tell you this: Giannis lost him that game yesterday against.
He sure did.
He lost them that game against the Wizards. Man, he really decided he was just going to attack Chris for 2 quarters, and it didn't work. And I don't know. I don't know. The team. He's clearly frustrated behind the scenes, and I don't even know if it's for a trade request. I just think he's frustrated because this team is bad. And if it's attitude and a locker room issue, then just ship everybody out.
Yeah.
Just get him out of here.
Well, he's frustrated, and I know Packers fans are frustrated. Let's hope, though, that in 2026, all of our Wisconsin sports teams can figure it out and turn things around and have good finishes to the seasons they started way back last year in 2025. We will join you again next week for Don't Tell Me How to Fan with an update on who the Packers are playing and planning that all out. And hopefully we have some better news from Giannis and some better news with the Milwaukee Bucks. Thanks again so much for joining us. I'm Josh Albrecht. That's John Taylor. This is Don't Tell Me How to Fan. Tune in next time because we are not done yet.